Okay everyone, this week we're going to be talking about joins, and a join is basically when you pull data from multiple tables. Last week we did just simple select statements, pulling data from single tables, but you have to understand in a business environment when databases are usually very large and complex and have multiple tables, it's probably more common to pull data from multiple tables. So that's what we're going to do this week. There are different categories of joins, and basically we have, our two broad categories are inner joins and outer joins. And I'll talk about those as I'm going along in these videos, but basically your inner join is like the standard run-of-the-mill join. Okay, so if I say, okay class, let's do a join, I'm talking about an inner join. Okay, and then we'll talk about the differences between the two. But so basically the inner join is the more common type of join, and the outer join is a little more special, so we'll talk about that later. So talking about the inner joins, there are two types. Implicit and explicit, and this is really a matter of syntax, okay? And I want you to be comfortable with both styles of syntax, and you'll see the difference. Basically, it's not a big deal. Basically, the explicit join is going to explicitly use the keyword join, okay? And the implicit join does not. So again, I want you to be familiar with both and get comfortable using both because they're both used very commonly. And then the outer join, you don't have a choice there. It's got to be explicit only. So, all right, so I'm going to show you what we're doing here. Basically, this is our lecture document, and we have some various problems, using joins. And I think first we'll focus on the implicit inner join, and maybe I'll just do these three in this video, and then we'll break it up a little bit for the other problems. So what I've done here is I have copied those problems A, B, and C to a query window. I'm on the Moraine server here, and basically I'm using the Small World SWC database, which you will also have available to you. It is read-only, but that's all we're doing. We're just pulling data out. We're not putting anything in or changing anything. So we're going to use the Small World Chocolate database, and let's see, we have a few tables, 3 tables in there: the inventory table, the item category table to represent the category of chocolate, the chips and the bars and all that, and then the vendor table, which would be the various companies that are selling the chocolate. So let's look at letter A here. Again, this is going to be these are the implicit joins, meaning we're not going to see the word join anywhere in our syntax in any of these. I think I'm going to push these out of the way. All right, so looking at letter A here, it says get a list of all SWC vendors, vendor name and country only, okay, and their associated products. So we're basically told to pull 2 columns from the vendor table and 2 columns, the description and the cost, from the inventory table. So again, pulling from 2 tables, that's a join. So I'm going to use an implicit join here. So I'll just dive right in. I'll say select vendor name, country, item description, and item cost. Oops. Not that it's case sensitive. Okay, so those are the 4 columns, and they're coming from these 2 tables. We want the vendor table and the inventory table. Okay, it really is that easy. This is an implicit join, and we're not going to see the keyword join here. So here's the thing. Now look, I'm going to run, we're not done yet. I'm going to run this so you can see what's going on here. Okay, well, you know what, at first glance it looks okay, but then I'm looking at this. Look at over here, 770 rows. That's way more than is actually in these tables, okay? So here's the thing with a join. You have to add a where clause. When you're pulling from 2 different tables, you're going to get massive duplicates if you don't add a where clause that link those 2 tables by their common column or their common field. And basically it's the vendor ID column that links these 2 tables together. The just show you real quickly. The inventory table here has this vendor ID as a foreign key. That's the ID in the vendor table. So that's the common column here. So I'm going to add the where clause. We're going to say where, and you have to qualify your column names here, where vendor dot vendor ID equals inventory. Oh no, it's not giving me the IntelliSense. Dot vendor ID. Okay, so I'll go ahead and run that. And 35 rows. Okay, so that sounds about right. Let's move on to the second one here. All right, so it says modify your SQL from letter A above to include the item category table, well, the item category field from the item category table. Okay, so not only do we want these things, the countries, the descriptions, the costs, we want to know what it is, if it's a bar, if it's a bag of chips, if it's, you know, a pouch of cocoa or whatever. So basically, I'm going to copy this. We've already got a good template going here, and I'm going to paste it in. Okay, and I'm going to squeeze in here, and now we want the, oh, it's the category name column. That's the one in question. Okay, and that is coming from the item category table, so I'm got to get in here in my from clause. Okay, this is the guy we want. And now here's the thing. You know, same thing. He's involved in a relationship with the inventory table. All right. See, I'm in the inventory table. We have the category ID, which links the inventory table to the item category table, specifically the category ID. So I've got to be sure I cite that in my where clause. Otherwise, I'm going to get massive duplicates here. So maybe I'll go to the next line. And so this is going to be a compound where clause. It's where vendor.vendor ID equals vendor dot or inventory dot vendor ID, and I'll just get down here. And we have item category dot, what was it, category ID equals inventory dot, oops, category ID. Okay. So compound where clause, and you know what? If I had to add a fourth or a fifth table into this query, this where clause would just keep on growing and growing. You always have to cite those common fields and equate them. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a lot of garbage data to sift through. Okay, so I'm gonna I'm gonna comment out this one before I run this next one. Okay, so let's run this one. I was hoping to see some data. All right, there it is. Okay, so now we have the category name. It's the same thing. We still have our 35 rows, but now the category name has been added. So this is you can call it a triple join. We've got data coming from 3 different tables here. Okay, so one more we have in this video, and then we'll move on to another video. I have modify your SQL from letter B above so that only Italian vendors and those same product and category columns are displayed. Okay, so this one we're really just going to expand on the where clause, okay, to whittle it down to just Italian vendors. Okay, so I'm just going to keep what I have here. We're not touching the join stuff, but I do have to get in here and add one more criterion, I should say. So this is and, oh, this is an easy one. We're just about home free here. Country equals Italy. Okay. So let's see. 13 rows. And I'm checking my data. We have Italy straight up and down. Okay.